is the latest on this Flyers-Blues deal that is on hold, as we've said?
Well, Jackie, the last I heard is that there had been that Torrey Krug had stood firm that was where he was. I do believe the Flyers tried to have some people talk to him to get him to change his mind. I'm always wary of coming on and making bold pronouncements like it won't happen or anything like that. But I had just heard that as of last I checked, he hadn't changed his mind. Now, a couple of things there. I was listening to your conversation. I think the Flyers' initial plan was to keep Torrey Krug. I don't think they were going to flip him. I think they were going to keep him. If you take a look at their defense, they've traded Provorov. They were trading Sanheim in this deal if it had done, and they're going to trade DeAngelo in July if the NHL doesn't approve it now. So they have 3 defensemen going out. They need defensemen coming in, and you need pros to play with your young players. You can't completely turn over their blue line. I think they were trying to sell Krug on playing for them. I think maybe they started looking at now if we could flip him, what would we do? But I think initially the plan was to keep him. As you guys said, I think that the concern about going into a rebuild at this point in his career was an issue. I think also they just had a 3rd child, the Krug family did. And I think one of the things is that if you trade from St. Louis to Philadelphia and you stay there and you eventually get flipped again, now you start moving your family a bit. And I think that was also a big concern for Krug as well. Now, David Pastrnak liked to tweet or retweeted a tweet, or I don't know what he did, about bringing Krug back to Boston. Now, I think if he was going to end up in Boston, I think he would have approved the trade. But other than that, I think right now, last I had checked, unless it has changed recently, and last I checked, Krug had not changed his mind, and the answer was still no.
I'm sure that liked tweet went completely unnoticed.
Yeah. Who would even notice such a thing? Let me ask you to explain to the viewers a little bit about what's going on with the Tony DeAngelo story, because that's another part of something that Danny Briere and the Philadelphia Flyers are trying to accomplish, is to trade Tony DeAngelo back to Carolina where they got him. But there is a CBA kind of snafu here. Maybe you can explain it to the viewers.
Well, one thing I give the Flyers a lot of credit. They try to see if they can push the boundaries a bit. Like when O'Brien, their draft pick, Jay O'Brien, went back, they announced they weren't signing him. They tried to get an extra draft pick for this year, even though technically it was supposed to be for next year. Their argument was, well, no, wait, we said now we're not going to sign him, so can we get the pick this year? And it didn't happen, but they tried. With Tony DeAngelo, basically what it comes back to is if you want to trade a player, like Philadelphia traded for DeAngelo last year, I believe it was July 8th. Yep. If you want to trade a player back with a retained salary to the same team that you acquired him from, you have to wait a calendar year. So even though the Flyers want to make this trade and the Hurricanes want to make this trade, the NHL rules indicate they can't do it for a year, which is July 8th. Now, I understand they're going to meet here and they're going to try to see if they can change this. But in my history, the NHL sticks pretty hard to the CBA. Like it's going to take a great argument for the NHL to change this. So we'll see what they do. But that's what the situation is. In theory, they have to wait for a year.
Elliot, Taylor Hall traded to Chicago. Is this just a start for Boston? And a 2-part question: how do you think Taylor Hall is going to embrace this? Obviously, with Connor Bedard right around the corner, number 1 overall pick when the draft comes around.
Well, I mean, I've dealt with Hall a lot over the years. I think, look, I don't think it's easy leaving a team that was number 1 in the NHL last year for a team that finished, I think, 3rd from the bottom. I think he knows what the challenges are. He's going to get, but my history with him is he'll try to make the best of it. He always seems to. He's going to get a chance to play with Bedard. And as you guys said, we'll see. Like he starts there next year, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Now, the one thing I was concerned about for Hall is I mentioned it earlier in the day, actually, in another radio interview. Is he has a nagging injury to his leg, I believe, that has hampered him throughout the season. So I think everybody's going to have to, as long as the Blackhawks are convinced that's not going to be an issue, I don't think it's a problem, but he had a nagging injury. Hall had a no-trade list. It was half the league, I believe, but Chicago was not on it. So the Bruins could make this move. And I think Chicago was very serious about we have to have players that Connor Bedard can play with, and I thought that was very important. Now I think Chicago or Boston, what they'll do is I think they're going to take a big run at re-signing Tyler Bertuzzi here. They indicated that they wanted to keep Bertuzzi. They wanted to keep Hathaway. I think they'll take their run at Bertuzzi now and see if they can get it done.
All right, we'll have to keep our eye on that. And we've also been keeping our eye on Pierre-Luc Dubois. A lot of conversation around him of late. I mean, it's long been rumored that, his desire is to one day play for the Montreal Canadiens. We've heard about the LA Kings being interested in him. What is the latest on Pierre-Luc Dubois?
Well, there were some reports yesterday that Dubois had permission to talk to the Kings. I was told that wasn't correct, but I think the Jets and the Kings have gone far, far, far down the road. And I think there were some other teams inquired. I think Colorado asked him about the possibility of playing for a year with them. And I think Colorado made a pitch. It didn't happen. I think at the end of the day, it really came down to two teams, LA and Montreal. I think LA is prepared to do this. I think they've made an offer that the Jets are interested in. I think that they are prepared to pay Dubois what he would like to earn. I think the biggest question is if he'd sign a 1-year deal and then an 8-year deal with LA because of their cap situation, or they just go straight into the 8-year deal. I think Montreal is kind of hemmed and hawed on this one a bit. I don't think they have as much to offer the Jets that will help the Jets now, which is important to Winnipeg. But I think Montreal has kind of re-entered this just to see if there's a way they can do it. But I've kind of leaned Kings for a couple of weeks now. It's not a full-out prediction. I don't want anybody wagering on that. But I think the Kings have more about what can help the Jets now, and I think that's important to the Jets. So unless Montreal comes up with something that can help the Jets now, I lean to the Kings.
All right, fair enough. Elliot, are you in Nashville as we speak?
I am.
Are
indeed.
you presenting tonight? I know you have in the past.
I'm not presenting, but I'm at a table with Liam McHugh and Paul Bissonnette. So I know I'm going to get a lot of words in edgewise.
All right. Well, tell them we said hello and enjoy the show tonight. I'm sure it's impossible not to have fun in Nashville. So just be careful
That's
out
true.
there, eh? Keep your head up.
I got to tell you, being careful. You cannot come here and be careful. You got to go into the corners like Ken Danico. That's the only way to live in Nashville.
I want to see you on stage at one of the bars on the strip there,
Yeah,
Elliot,
you drop a
little
karaoke
country
tune
music
every
singing.
once in a while, Elliot.
I like to do that stuff privately and keep myself out of the spotlight.
All right.
All right. Well, listen, enjoy your drink or meal or whatever you're doing with those crazy kids from TNT. We appreciate the time.
All right, guys, take care.